Hello. I was about to give Woody Woodpecker a ride down this pole. Now I know it isn't everyone that has a woodpecker in the family. So I imagine you'd all like to know how life began for our backwoods Barrymore.
Oh, boss, not that again.
What I'm about to tell you is actually a true story. At the time it happened, I had a cottage in Sherwood Forest, which is just a short distance from Hollywood. One morning about 5, I heard a frantic knocking. I couldn't imagine who'd be calling on us at that hour. Half asleep, I opened the door and looked around. There was nobody there. I thought I'd been hearing things, so I went back to bed. A few minutes later, the knocking started again. This time I knew I wasn't dreaming. I got up and went to the front door again. But I still couldn't see anyone. Now I was completely awake and realized the noise was coming from the roof. And what do you think it was? Yes, it was a big red-headed woodpecker banging at the roof as though his life depended on it. I shouted at him, and he flew away. As he left, he gave a crazy sort of a laugh. He not only awakened my wife and me with his early morning serenade, but he was ruining my roof. And do you know why he was doing it? He was drilling hundreds of holes as a storage place for his winter supply of hazelnuts. Here are a few I found.
All right, boss, put 'em back. That's my old age pension.
Hasn't he got a nerve? Now, to get back to my story, I had about as much as I could stand. So I said to my wife, Gracie, this woodpecker has got to go. Sherwood Forest isn't big enough for both of us. I started out the door with my shotgun with the idea of giving this woodpecker a real scare when Gracie said, don't you know it's against the law to shoot woodpeckers? And anyway, I think he's real cute.
Now there's a very intelligent woman.
Pipe down, Woody. And furthermore, Gracie said, he's dynamic. He has color. He has personality. And you know you've been talking about a new character for your cartoons. How about a woodpecker? This sounded like a wonderful idea. So I immediately drew a few sketches of woodpeckers. I'd like to show you what my first impressions were. As you can see, there was quite a problem deciding just how Woody should look. I showed the drawings to some of the artists at my studio. They all felt that a wacky woodpecker would make a good character. So we made hundreds of drawings of woodpeckers. They were all sizes and shapes. This one had a long needle nose. One artist thought that he should have a broken bill. These woodpeckers were too fat. This one wasn't bad, but I felt we could improve him.
Now tell him how I became a big Hollywood star, boss.
Later, Woody, later. Right now, let's get on with the show.
Hey, boss, you're on. Let's have a little action.
All right, Woody. Let's see, what shall I do? I have an idea. I'll show our television friends how we draw our characters here at the studio. It's really simpler than you might think. But first, let me show you some pictures by a few young artists who probably draw just about the way you do. Many of Woody's young friends have drawn pictures of him and sent them to me. I think they're wonderful. But most of these young artists are trying too hard. They erase a lot, and sometimes they rub holes right through the paper. The results aren't always good.
Oh, boss, they're ruining me. It's murder.
Now let me show you a few simple tricks. Here's a circle, and an oval, and a pear shape, and a sort of a hot dog shape. With these simple shapes and a few connecting lines, you can draw almost any character you can think of. To show you how it works, let's start with Woody. First, you draw a circle. Then put two ovals inside it. Two lines make the bill. Then we put in the eyes, the eyebrows, and the mouth. The next thing to do is to add the top knot. Now, a few simple outlines make the body. And the arms, the hands, the legs. Then we add the feet. A few details give Woody his personality. To give you an idea how important these simple shapes are in making animated cartoons, let's take a quick look around our studio. Here's a director creating a character for one of our cartoons. Notice how he uses the tricks I showed you? Here's an animator using the same shapes to rough out his drawings. Do you know that the next cartoon in our show has over 5,000 drawings? Now perhaps you'd like to bring Andy Panda to life. Again, we start with a circle. An oval. Then two more ovals for the eyes. Two more for the ears. One for the nose. And a line for the mouth. Finishing touches are easy to add.
Hey, boss, how about these?
That's a good idea, Woody. There we have Andy Panda in person. So no matter what you want to draw, remember, you can do it better and quicker if you use the little tricks I've shown you. You know the secrets about the circle, the oval, the pear shape. Just put them together with a few connecting lines and you can create your own cartoon kingdom. People often ask me where we get ideas for cartoons. My answer is the whole world is full of ideas. And here are some of our cartoons that started out with a simple idea. As you know, Woody Woodpecker was born when he came tap-tapping on the roof of my cottage in Forest. And knock, knock, Woody's very first picture was built around his early morning tapping on the roof. But ideas can come anytime, anywhere. For example, there was a story in a newspaper about woodpeckers ruining telephone poles. So we produced a cartoon in which Woody almost wrecked the phone company. And the title of this picture is To Catch a Woodpecker. Naturally, fairy tales are a great source of ideas for us. On one, we started with the story of 3 wishes and developed it into a film in which an Irish leprechaun, in the form of a green woodpecker, comes to the United States, where he meets Woody and offers our red-headed friend 3 wishes: smoked ham, was the result of a ham that was burned when one of our artists had a barbecue. Fairweather Fiends is a twist on the phrase about fair-weather friends. Destination Meatball was suggested by Destination Moon. Wacky Bye Baby started out as Rockabye Baby. Then I remember when Davy Crockett was a national hero. One of our animators wore a Crockett hat to work, and before you could say, "Remember the Alamo," the story of Davy Crewcut was born. Many times ideas start with nothing at all. One fellow comes in and says, "What's funny?" And a story will develop from there. When an idea is suggested, the storymen decide whether it's good and if it lends itself to a lot of funny gags. The idea they're working on now started in just about that way. Paul said, "What's new?" Dalton said, "I saw a circus going up out in the valley this morning." Homer piped up, "Hey, it might be fun to do a circus show." And Paul said, "It might be at that. We haven't done one. There's lots of color and action, and there ought to be plenty of gags." Then they started sparking with ideas. Pretty soon they're working the story out with sketches and words, and even a little acting. Now I'll explain what they're doing. There's a big circus in town. Woody wants to get in, but he hasn't any money. He pretends to be a magician. That way he'll manage to get into the circus, and the fun really starts. So where do ideas come from? They're all around us. All we have to do is look for them and be ready to recognize them. Always keep your eyes and ears open, and remember that anything might be an idea for a cartoon. I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. I was just checking a scene in one of our new cartoons. When I flip the drawings, I can see the action taking place. This is important because Woody and all of his friends have to act naturally, not only in their movements, but also in their emotions. Woody likes to feel he does it all himself, but we do give him a bit of help. For example, when he's happy, the lines around the eyes crinkle, and everything goes up in a smile. When he's sad, it's just the opposite. Everything turns down. Many times he's extremely annoyed, and he shows it. Occasionally, Woody tries to think, and then his head hurts, and he feels miserable. We not only have to worry about Woody's looks, but how he moves. Suppose Woody were hitting a ball. He would start in this position and would end in this one. To establish this, we make a series of drawings from the first position to the final position. After these drawings are photographed, they go through the projector so rapidly that the character actually moves. Over 5,000 drawings are used to make just one of the Woody Woodpecker cartoons you see on this show. Although it takes a lot of sketches to put life in our pesky young redhead, we enjoy making them, and I hope you enjoy watching them. Like all the rest of us, Woody Woodpecker has changed quite a lot over the years. In the early days, Woody was just another woodpecker before we made him what he is today.
Who made who?
All right, Woody. You've been very helpful.
Helpful? If it weren't for me, you'd be selling pencils instead of drawing with them.
Okay. There's no use arguing about it, Woody. The fact remains that I did discover Woody many years ago in Sherwood Forest. and we decided he'd make a funny cartoon character. We had a lot of ideas about the way this woodpecker might look, and in his first picture, he was much different than he is today. Any of these might have been our red-headed hero in those days, but we finally settled on this one. As you can see, he was more bird-like in those days, and he was real crazy. As time went on, he became a little smoother, and finally Woody has come to look like this. Let's look at some of the ways Woody has changed. You can see he was much goofier, and he had more feathers. Even his hands were like wings. Now let's see what kind of an actor he was in his first picture. At first, his body was blue with a red vest. He had a long, thin neck. His legs were yellow, and he had 3 toes. He had a long head with a pointed beak. When he opened his mouth, he showed his teeth. His top knot stuck out like a chipped-up battle axe. His tail feathers looked as though they'd been broken. He was a real wild-looking character. As the years went by, Woody changed. His body became rounder and smoother. The feathery look disappeared, except for the collar around his neck. Now we'll see if his acting has improved. His wings became arms, and his hands looked more like human hands. Most of his body was still blue, but his vest changed from red to white. His neck was shorter, and see how his legs have changed. The feathers come all the way down to his feet, and his 3 toes have become 2. His head is rounder, the beak a little shorter, with more curve in it. His top knot is still pushed back like a pompadour. His tail feathers still bend down, but they don't have that old broken look. Today, Woody is even more streamlined. The big change, of course, is the way the top knot curves forward. Now let's take a look at Woody as he is today. His neck is shorter. His beak turns up more, and we seldom see his teeth unless he gets angry and blows his top knot. His legs aren't as thick as they used to be, and his tail feathers are more graceful. We also decided that Woody would be cuter if he were a little smaller, and people would have more sympathy for him because the villain in the picture is usually bigger and tougher than Woody. Most of us like to see the little fellow win over the big bully. You can see that Woody has gone through many changes since the first day he came to life on our drawing boards.
Show him how I'm going to look in the future.
Well, I don't know what he means by that, but let's find out.
How about this, boss?
Boy, that'll be the day. These are a few sketches that one of our directors brought in for approval. Sometimes people think it's rather odd that we have directors for cartoon films. They say, how can you direct an animated character? Because we not only have to plan what they'll do and say, but we also have to create the characters. I think you might be interested in seeing some of the things a cartoon director is responsible for. To start with, we must have a main situation or idea around which to build our story. The director works with the storymen to develop this idea. Then they discuss different gags, trying to find as many funny situations as possible. After the story has been pretty well developed, the storyman makes a rough storyboard. Both the writer and the director have to be artists, because we draw our stories instead of writing them. When the storyboard is finished, the director goes over it with the writer. The writer makes notes about the characters and plans a gag so that they are funny and entertaining. Then the director starts to lay out and time the entire production. He does this on a timing sheet. Everything has to be worked out in advance. The action, the dialogue, the music, and the sound effects. The director marks on his timing sheet the exact length of every scene in the picture, the tempo, and the exact place where sound effects or dialogue are to be used. Now, using the storyboard as a guide, the director makes a series of sketches that will tell the story in action. While he's drawing these action sketches, the director also makes drawings of the stage settings where the action will take place. The settings can be almost anywhere: a desert, a forest, a log cabin, anything that fits the story and makes an interesting background. Whenever a new character is created for a cartoon, the director makes up a model chart that serves as a guide for the animators to follow. This model chart shows how the character will look from the front, the side, and the rear. It also points out any special features. For example, the character might have a tail that hangs in a special way. All details of clothing or costume are shown on the model charts. In timing the action of his picture, the director uses a metronome. It can be set to give from 1 to 4 beats a second. He figures out what beat or tempo he wants the action to follow and makes a note of it on the timing sheet. Then he works with the musical director to develop the type and kind of musical score that will fit the action of the picture. Along with everything else, the director meets with the animators who will work on the cartoon. He explains the entire storyboard to them and any special features that have to be considered. The director has a big job, and a very important one. He has to be an idea man, a gag man, an artist, have a knowledge of music, and many other things. And his work is especially difficult when you think that his star actor is a bird brain named Woody Woodpecker.